I'm Kaya Peterson, Executive Director of NeighborWorks Montana. I'm the room host for this session. And we're excited to have you joining us. As you're coming into the room, please mute your lines and turn off your videos. We're going to start with our panelists in just a moment. Throughout our session today, you can use the chat function to post questions. A reminder that all of our sessions are being recorded, and you can turn your videos back on during the Q&A, but during the panel presentation, we want everyone muted with videos off. You should have received a whiteboard paddle in the mail as part of your conference welcome packet. So when we get to Q&A, feel free to use those to share your enthusiasm or congratulations or comments. Okay. I think we're good. Let's see. What am I forgetting? Okay, I think we're good. So we're gonna have a couple more people joining us and I'll try to monitor that all, but let's pass this off to Larry Phillips, who's going to kick us off for this session. And actually, I probably should have said, this is the Rural Preservation Targeted Strategies to Maintain Existing Affordable Homes. So if that's not the session that you were hoping to attend, you should leave and find the correct link, but hopefully you're where you're supposed to be. All right, Larry, take it away.
Yeah, hi everyone. Just wanted to make sure that all my technology is working right. Can we see my screen?
Looks good, Larry.
Perfect. Well, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to our session today. We're going to be talking about rural preservation and the targeted strategies to maintain existing affordable homes. I'm joined by Katie Mckenna at Enterprise Community Partners and Nicole Mckeefe at Montana Housing.
That's what made your cows swell up.
And I am
She said, "You're welcome."
I'm the credit analyst and portfolio manager here at NeighborWorks Montana. So we'll just go ahead and get this started. So a good thing to really start the conversation, oh, Lord, I went back, sorry, is to define what preservation means. So preservation is when you take an action to really ensure subsidy or low income housing restrictions stay in place in any housing complex and preserve the affordability for long term. A lot of the times these communities and these projects have been operating for 40 or more years, and they have some existing contracts that might be expiring or might soon expire. And a reason preservation is important is because it's very much more cost effective. Sometimes it's easier than new construction. If you've been doing any development lately, you know that the cost of lumber and some other materials is becoming more and more of a burden. And also the timeline to get those materials is becoming quite extensive. So sometimes rehabbing an existing apartment can be easier than constructing a new one, let alone the fact that finding land to build is sometimes even a harder sell. According to the National Housing Trust, nationally, rehabbing an existing apartment can cost a third to a half of what building a new one does. So that's a couple reasons why preservation might be super important. The potential expiration of subsidy and federal government subsidies, that expiration really creates some concerns for a lot of people. It allows the option for the project to exit the program and convert the property to a non-affordable use. So we're talking some buyer from out of state might come in, raise the rents and make a market rate. And yes, financially that makes sense for the buyer, but that's really not what we like to see. We want to see those homes preserved for the people that are currently living in them and really the people who will continue to live in them long-term. The loss of current affordable housing really further exacerbates the issue of our housing crisis at the moment. Considering the cost to build new, the loss of some is really, it uses a lot of the current resources that are already fully tapped at the statewide level. So that's why preservation is super important. And they're really, these projects are critical community assets. In larger cities, the projects that are currently being purchased as they're expiring, a lot of the times they plan for that conversion to market rate, and that increases the cost of preservation work if we don't start working on it now. I mean, this is a long-term goal and a long-term process, but we really need to continue the preservation work. In rural areas, the loss of one apartment can really be the loss of all existing affordable housing in the area. And that is a large piece of that community asset puzzle. When you're talking about the fabric of the community, who lives in these projects? They're normally maybe seniors that are retired that have lived in the community all their lives. They might be teachers, they're workers, their families. And the loss of maybe 1 8-plex in a rural community can really be a large detriment. For every affordable apartment created, 2 are lost because of deterioration, abandonment, or conversion to market rate housing. And that's really why preservation is super important. So what do we do about it? NeighborWorks Montana has the RETA program and creates financing solutions. And really we lend to developers providing flexible loans to fill gaps in what is currently available for housing projects. In our history of the RETA portfolio, we've lent 96 loans, the total of $35+ million, and we've really affected 3,400 homes in the state. That's over a 10-year period, but we really want to see that continue to grow. Preservation specifically, 1,100 homes so far. But what we're challenging you all in is to really take this, we want to present this topic to you all, present some opportunities, and really see what we can drive as far as preservation work in the state. And with that, I'll hand it over to Katie from Enterprise Community Partners.
Hi, thanks so much, Larry. Appreciate that introduction to preservation and why it's so important and worth spending our hour together this morning. I'm Katie Mckenna. I'm a program director in the Rocky Mountain region of Enterprise Community Partners, and work right now. I'm based in Colorado and appreciate being virtually with you all in Montana today. Larry, you can go to the next slide. So just a quick background on Enterprise. For those who may not know, we're a national nonprofit with 13 regional offices throughout the country. The main focus of our work is increasing the supply of affordable housing, advancing racial equity, and building resilience and upward mobility. We do this through a variety of different means. We have financial tools to support affordable housing development, grants, debt, and equity. We work on policy issues, and we also provide programmatic support and technical assistance. And so where the preservation conversation comes in for Enterprise, and I'm sure so much like you all, is our goal is to increase the supply of affordable housing. And in order to do that, we can't be losing affordable housing while we're building more. The equation just doesn't work. I so often hear people use the bucket analogy. How can you fill a bucket if you've got a hole in the bottom of it? And I think that is the exact situation that we're dealing with when we're talking about why and how to preserve our affordable housing stock in Montana and beyond. Larry, you can go to the next slide. The lack of affordable housing is already an issue before the pandemic, and over the past 2 years, the housing market throughout the country, and honestly, particularly in more rural areas has really struggled under the weight of both the economic challenges related to the pandemic and then also growth that the pandemic and changes in the housing market and where people are living is causing. And so whether we're talking about increases in acquisition costs, supply chain disruption and shortages, inflation, all of these things are coming together at this moment in time, creating price challenges at a rate really unseen in the last 40 years. And so the result can be that we're losing affordable housing at a rapid pace. And it's initiatives like what we're talking about today, and the work that NeighborWorks and you all are doing in Montana is giving us the tools to prevent that loss of affordable housing supply. So when Enterprises has been looking at affordable housing, we've been talking about it from two different perspectives. One is the loss of currently affordable but unrestricted affordable housing, which I'll put a pin in, but feel free to reach out to me if that's a conversation that you are interested in having or interested in learning more about. And then the second body of work is figuring out how to preserve existing affordable housing, existing deed restricted affordable housing. We have already made public and private investment into it. How do we make sure we don't lose that stock? So Larry, you can head on over to the next slide. And have developed a set of strategies that we're using both here in the Rocky Mountain region, but also nationally, that's based on thinking about policy, the resources that are needed, and the coalitions that we need in place to be able to have mission-based groups ready to respond and the capital that they need there. There have been a lot of policy conversations needed to make sure that resources are aligned. It's not something that has necessarily been front and center for most folks. And honestly, if you are in some cases a local public official or even a nonprofit developer, it can feel a lot more exciting and new to be building a new building. It feels more splashy. And so often those are the projects that get more attention, but preserving our existing stuff is just as, if not more, important. So being sure to advance public dialogue, raising awareness, and make sure that we have the policy environment in place for preservation has been an important part of our strategy. The next layer of the strategy is looking at public sector and community capacity. This is where I'll speak more to Colorado than Montana, but we'll rely on Larry and Nicole to kind of fill in the Montana environment. But just like I was talking about needing to increase our awareness and interest in preservation projects, we also in Colorado needed to build our public sector interest and also the capacity of nonprofit and mission-based developers who are interested in acquiring or just interested in preserving buildings that they already have. So some of the ways that we've done that are through preservation academies and toolkits. Right now, Enterprise has a preservation toolkit, a nationwide toolkit, which I'll drop the link into the chat when I'm finished. We've also been hosting preservation academies. We'll have one in the Rocky Mountain region coming in 2023, and would love, right now, we have an academy in the Southeast and in California. Would love if you're interested in connecting with us for that in 2023. Feel free to put your name and email in the chat and I'll follow up with you. Another important piece of the puzzle has been pre-development grants to help with capacity building. And then the data set, which we have a similar preservation data set to you all. So Nicole next is going to talk about the research and data you all have available to make preservation projects possible, but that's been a really key part of the puzzle for us. And then of course, having the resources available to make direct housing investments. And that this has been something Enterprise and other partners have been doing a lot of advocating to make sure that we have the financial resources that are readily available and work for preservation projects. So some of them, I mentioned Enterprise is a CDFI, and so in Colorado, we have a transit-oriented development fund. We also have Enterprise Community Loan Fund, which provides resources to projects. Our CHAFA, our Housing Finance Authority, has also developed a preservation fund. And then it's been a really big part of our conversation about how we're using our American Rescue Plan Act, the federal resources dedicated to pandemic recovery, the ARPA resources. We have been vocalizing the importance of using some of that money to help preserve the existing stock that we have. And so as you all and as we as an industry are thinking about what strategy is needed to preserve properties, I think thinking about it in these 3 layers makes a whole lot of sense. So do we have the policy environment? Do we have the capacity in the public sector and the community capacity? And then do we have the money to be able to do it? So with that, I'll turn it over to Nicole, who's going to talk about what some of this is looking like in Montana. Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. So hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Mckeefe. If I haven't virtually met you before, I'm the multifamily housing program manager for Montana Housing. And before I jump into the preservation work that we've been doing here at the state, I wanted to soft launch a new program that we have available that we will be hard launching here, hopefully in the next couple weeks. So we are going to have what's called a multifamily loan program. And this will be permanent financing for multifamily rental homes, for rental homes that are new construction and acquisition rehab. And we do want to focus on preservation projects, which is one of the reasons why I'm kind of presenting this right now. This will be also treated as kind of a gap filler for some of our hopefully upcoming LIHTC projects and other multifamily projects that are in the works. And it's not going to be very different from some of our other programs. It's really going to be in line with our Coal Trust Homes program and our Housing Montana Fund program as well for guidelines, for loan guidelines and underwriting. So I just wanted to throw this program out there that everybody will be seeing more information about it in the coming weeks. And we are still working on some of the logistics on our end, but if anybody is interested in this program for financing of a project that you have upcoming or currently, please reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation. Next slide, please, Larry. Okay, so we're going to dive into some fun data that I have here on this slide about preservation from some of the work that we've been doing. This graph here on the left is, it kind of needs a better header, but this shows the amount of units that are actually going to be coming out of their affordability periods in the next, this goes up to 2057, so the next like 30-ish years. I'll talk about it on the next slide. But the data that we have that's going into the preservation map that we're going to talk about, we were able to take that data and take all the units and when they have their earliest subsidy ending date and their latest subsidy ending date and put it into this graph to show what upcoming years we're going to lose massive amounts of units to possibly convert them into market rate units if the owners so choose. So as you can see, like 2028, the large teal line, we're set to lose about 1,400 units. That's a large chunk of our affordable deed restricted portfolio at this point. So I just like to show this as a visual that preservation and losing units is it's already a serious problem. But as you can see in the upcoming years, we're going to have a lot of units that are and projects that are going to be ending their affordability period. So, and the other tables I have on here kind of just giving some perspective about, again, the number of units that we're going to lose in the next 5, 10, or 20 units or 20 years, and then the total of those units. And then for comparison, we have the number of low income housing tax credit units created. As most of us know, the LIHTC program is the biggest funder of affordable housing in the nation, and has been since the early 90s. So, oh, I see I still have 2021 in here, and don't have numbers for 2022, but you can see that we have, we're not putting enough units with the LIHTC program back into the market at the rate that we're going to start losing them, especially where that line graph is hitting those 1,400 units. We're on average putting 150 to 200 units with our competitive 9% credit every year, and that's based on a federal allocation. So unless we, as a small state, get more tax credits allocated, that's about the number of units we're able to award every year. Our 4%, we've had an increase in demand in the last couple of years for our 4%. We're one of the few states that has a non-competitive 4% process, which is really great, but there are some challenges that come along with that, as I'll show on the map in the next couple of slides. To be realistic with a 4% development, it really needs to be in a qualified census tract or a difficult to development area to get what's called a basis boost to the tax credits. And we don't have a ton of those areas that are developable in Montana. So we have a lot of developers that are interested in using our available 4% credit, but it's hard to develop, and also the cost, obviously, of developing right now and infill land is also another barrier to the 4%. But as you can see, we have a lot of upcoming units that will hopefully be going online in the next couple of years using that 4% credit. We had 730 units in 2020. We actually, total 2021, had 756 units. And in the pipeline for 2022 right now, we have almost 400 units, and we're hoping, having a lot of conversations with developers that are really interested in doing more 4% projects at the end of the year. So hopefully we'll have 500 to 700 units in the pipeline by the end of the year as well, for the 4%. So Larry, next slide, please. All right, so this is the map that I was referring to in the last slide. So I have been working with NeighborWorks and a consultant to create this map and the data that we have available in this map. What we did was we worked with the National Housing Preservation Database to acquire all of the multifamily properties in the state that have a subsidy attached to them, not just the low-income housing tax credit, but HUD funding, other multifamily loan funding, RD, pretty much any type of subsidy we were able to get from this database. And then I and our consultant went through and cleaned up the data the best we could. We used information that we have from our current database. And then we talked to folks at RD, we talked to folks at HUD to try to get the most updated version of this data possible. And so on the right, the links that we have there is our current list of tax credit properties. We have, as I was just told by the National Low Income Housing Coalition, we have one of the best, most comprehensive, like public facing list of tax credit properties. So that is up to date with all of our tax credit properties in the state. And it has like owner information, it has units, AMI, everything you could almost possibly want to know. That's public information in that spreadsheet. And the second spreadsheet, the Affordable Housing Preservation Database, is that data I was just talking about from the National Housing Preservation Database that's been also enhanced with us going through it and making sure it's as up to date as possible. Some of the data, it's not perfect. We couldn't find owners for some, or some subsidy ending dates, but it is downloadable and searchable for anybody to use on our website. So once we had all that data cleaned up, we took it and put it into this interactive map. And this mapping software is actually through a program called Tableau. It is not primarily a GIS like mapping tool, so the functionality isn't perfect, but I think for what we were able to do in-house, it's a really great tool and resource. And so what you can see here is we have the blue areas, and I'll have in the next slide in a minute, I'll have Larry kind of walk us through how to use it, since we're going to be doing an activity and everyone's going to be trying to use it. But we have like the blue is our county DDAs, and then we have the greens as our qualified census tract, and we'll do some zooming in so you can kind of see some of the information you can actually take out of the map. But the whole point of this project was to take all the data and put it somewhere that developers or public agencies or whomever could get to it and start taking a look at these properties that we have that are reaching the end of their compliance and affordability periods, and start really diving into it and being like, okay, how can we actually figure out how to either re-syndicate or re-subsidize some of these properties to extend that affordability, especially a lot of the ones from the early 90s that are coming out of their affordability period soon. For me personally, I've been trying to go back through all of the older projects and look at their deed restrictions, and then start to contact the owners of all of the projects that are coming out of affordability periods within the next 5 years, and just have a conversation with the owners and see if we can't connect them with a consultant or a developer who would maybe be interested in rehabbing those projects and extending that affordability. And luckily, a lot of projects still have RD on them, and that is usually, I think, those affordability requirements are for 40 years, whereas earlier LIHTC requirements were for about 30 years. So some of them will still be affordable through that program, luckily. But Larry, do you want to go ahead and go to the next slide and pull up the map, and we can kind of show folks how to use it? Okay, so, yep, do you want to scroll down? So just a heads up, try not to use, and this is for everybody, if you're using the map, use the little toolbar that Larry is clicking on with the home and the zoom up and down. Don't use the scroll function on your mouse. It does not like it. And can you scroll up to there should be tabs on the page at the top of the map. There we go. So it's just going to show. So this first page that Larry's on, yep. Oh, okay. This first page, like I was saying before, the green areas are the QCTs and the blue counties are DDAs. Some of them, could you double click into Lincoln County in the top left corner, actually, Northwest Montana? There we go. So there is a tiny, I think, and then scroll into, there we go, scroll into those dots. So as you can see, there's a tiny QCT, well, it's all of Libby, but in Lincoln County, but you can't really see that on the full map. So if there's a county that you're interested in, you may have to double click into the county and then scroll in to see if there's a QCT area. And then Larry, will you hover over one of those dots? So once you see the dots are properties around the state. You're going to be able to see the property name, the address, the city, the owner, and the earliest end date. So if there's multiple subsidies on the property, that earliest end date is when the first one is ending its like affordability period. So there might be an earliest and a latest in our spreadsheet, but we only put the earliest on here, and it has the total number of units. So if you see a project that you're interested in and you want more information, the spreadsheet that's above the map on our website has additional information about these properties. So will you hit the home button? See if this works. Okay, actually go double click here on the blue line. There we go. You'll see little directions at the top of the map. Please follow those, or like I said, it doesn't work very well. Okay, now hit the home button. That work, or just click outside the map. There we go. And then go ahead and let's do Silver Bow County. So I use this as a really good example to see which projects are in some of these counties are in a QCT and outside of a QCT. And so that might help folks if they're looking to rehab a project, and especially in our 4% non-competitive tax credit, which projects are going to be eligible for that basis boost. Our 9% tax credit has has a discretionary basis boost, but federal law does not allow that for a 4%. So that's kind of the background on that. But all right, so I think that's kind of concludes my presentation and very quick overview of how to use the map. Larry, if you wanted to go to the next slide, and then we can kind of talk about the activity.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Let me just get back to our presentation real quick. The next thing we are going to be doing as a group is we are going to do an activity, which everyone loves activities. All right. Oh, except now my slides are wrong. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. All right. Activity time. So what our next steps are is we're going to ask you to navigate to the preservation map on your computer. We will also be dropping the link in the chat. Hopefully that'll make it a little easier for you. As you noticed, I was having a hard time and I've worked with the map before, so go to that full screen. Please be patient. Like Nicole said, it's a little finicky, but it is a wealth of knowledge. Navigate to the preservation map on your computer. We'll ask you to choose a breakout room, and I think Kaya will be creating some of those shortly. We're going to have 3 different breakout rooms. Please choose yours based on your general geographic focus in the area. So we'll have the eastern half of...
Larry, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I think 3 is too few groups for this many people. So I would suggest 8 groups, and I have a geographic suggestion for how to do that.
All right.
I chatted you, but I know that we're all trying to monitor a lot.
Go ahead,
Is
Kaya.
that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So before we break into groups, maybe tell everybody just a little bit more about what we're hoping they'll do in the groups.
Okay, so yeah, we're hoping that you can meet with some other people who are working in your geographic area. Search the map and try to identify some potential opportunities for preservation in that area. And then a couple things that I might think about, and I was going to pose them to my group, but knowing that we might be having a little bit more breakout rooms, we might not have a person facilitating every room. But some things to think about, maybe if you could identify a group of properties that are all coming out of affordability around the same time. Maybe there's one owner that owns a couple different properties in your area. So really making that connection could really create a larger term effect as far as the preservation goes, or even scalability. You could do a portfolio type deal. Those are some of the things that I might think about while you're in your group and searching for some potential preservation opportunities in your area. And really what we were hoping for this to be was just get you involved, looking through the map, seeing what preservation potential there is in your area, and then hopefully this grows out of just this session and we really see some continued work in the space.
Awesome. And we're going to have everybody in breakouts until 11:50. So you'll have about 15 minutes in your group. Should I try to create these? I'll tell you what I was thinking. So 8 groups, and like Larry said, you can self-select. If you end up in a group and there isn't anyone else there, or it's a small group, you can always just pop back out and I can reassign you to another group, assuming I can figure out how to make the technology work. So bear with me. Okay, so moving across the state, one group for Flathead and Northwest, one group for Missoula and surrounding counties, one group for Bozeman and Butte area, one group for Helena, one for Great Falls and Choteau, and then one for the High Line, one for Billings, and one for Eastern Montana. So hopefully when I create the groups, I'll be able to label them that way. Okay, let's see if we can get these breakouts going. Before we do that, does anyone have questions about what you're doing in breakout group? You can post it in the chat, or you can come off mute. All right, and I'll be here in the main room if anybody has issues and needs to pop back out. So let's see here. I'm going to create 8 breakout rooms. And I'm going to make names. Sorry, I guess I should have done this earlier. Just give me 1 second. Keeps glitching. And Highline. Okay. I'm going to open all the rooms and you should be able to select which one you want. So here we go. Do you have a way to do it?
I see a breakout room now. If anyone has not attended a breakout room in Zoom before, I can tell you that the breakout room button is on the bottom toolbar. It says breakout room, so you can click that and choose which section you're in. And Kaya, is there a way we can post some of those questions in the chat to everyone for them to see them?
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. If anyone's having trouble selecting a room and needs me to assign you, just let me know. I should be able to do that.
I was going to volunteer. Just throw me in one. I don't care what part of the state. I can't see it on my iPad. Sorry.
Do you want? Which one do you want, Heather? That's too much pressure for me. All right, Tracy
Okay,
wants
fine.
to.
Hometown Belgrade, Bozeman area. Sure, I'll do that. Thanks.
All right, Tracy, I'm assigning you to Helena. Kiana, I'm assigning you to Missoula. Hold on. I'm not seeing Kiana in here. Hold on. Carilla, you want to go to Great Falls? All right. Sounds like no one's in the Highline room, so folks are joining Great Falls. All right, Heather, you want the Bozeman Butte group? Anyone else having trouble getting assigned?
I'm having some trouble.
Madeline, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe the Missoula region, but I'm really open to anything if there's any groups that have a few people. I work with the whole state.
Okay, I'll get you in Missoula.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
All right, Kaya, are you good? Should I
I'm
jump?
good. Go for it, Larry. Yeah, jump to where you need to be.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else who's still on and needs help getting assigned to a breakout room?
Oh,
Hey,
gosh.
Nicole.
Hey, I'm back. Bruce is in the Eastern Montana one, so I was going to let him facilitate, and I'm going to jump in another one.
Okay, great.
That may be
Billings in Southeast only has 7. Great Falls Shoto has 5.
Larry's in
Hey,
that.
Kaya, I can't
Wait,
get
go ahead.
onto the Great Falls one. Keeps kicking
All
me
right,
out.
Martin, let me help you get in there. That's funny. I'm showing you as unassigned. So what do I do here?
Okay. Katie was in that one, so I'm going to try another one.
I don't know why it's not letting you join that one, Martin. It's showing as not giving me that option. Huh. It's very strange. So when do you still have the option to join a breakout room right now?
I can click on the breakout room and go to them, and I can hover over the Great Falls one and click to join, and then it doesn't
Not letting
does
you
not
go.
join. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't, for some reason, have the option for you to join.
Yeah, it says something like signature expired or something like that.
That's really bizarre. I'm just not sure what my options are here. Maybe if we have you join another room and then come back, it just seems like you're stuck for some reason. So can I
Okay.
have you jump? I'll assign you to like, I'm
I'll
gonna
do
assign you to
Missoula
Butte,
and then,
Missoula.
Butte's
Okay,
fine.
and then, yeah, I'll assign you to Missoula and then you can jump back out and let's see if that'll fix it.
Okay. Okay, I was there and then I jumped back out.
Jump back out. Okay. So now I'm going to try to move you to, where did you want to be? Great Falls,
Great Falls.
right? Okay. Let's try it.
Awesome.
Okay. So Rena, let me, I'm going to bounce you to another group and then bounce you back. It seemed like that worked for Martin. So
Okay,
hold
thank
on.
you.
Yep. So you're in Helena right now.
I'm in there, but it doesn't let me join.
Okay, I'm gonna bounce you to Highline and then just bounce right back out, okay? Come back,
Okay, thank
just
you.
exit that breakout and then I should be able to reassign you. Okay, anyone else having trouble getting into a breakout? For folks who just joined, we're in breakout sessions. You should have a breakout option. Let me know if you have questions. Hey, Cassie, do you need help getting into a breakout room?
Yeah, probably Helen. I tried a couple times.
Okay, let me try again. Hold on one second. All right, Cassie. All right, I'm gonna bounce you to the Highline and then I'll bounce you right back to Helena, okay?
Perfect.
Cassie? All right, hold on one sec. All right, Sam Hall or Sam Santos, do you need help getting into the Helena group? Hey, Lisa. We're in breakout rooms. Do you need me to help you get to a breakout?
Hi, Kaya.
Hey, Bruce, are you guys done?
We are, and we were so efficient. It was amazing.
That is amazing. I feel like I still have folks who haven't been able to make it into a breakout, so.
Angie
Ours
has
was pretty
all the
small.
answers.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna give everybody just 30 more seconds and then I'll call them back.
But like normal, us Eastern Montana folk, we're pretty efficient.
Everybody knows everybody. You can just get stuff done by making a phone call.
Exactly.
If only that were the way it
Right?
works.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this was testing my Zoom skills, so.
I was very impressed, quite frankly, with your Zoom skills. So.
Thank you. A few glitches, but. Just giving everybody another 30 seconds and I'll call everybody back. Becky and Bruce know who they're waving at. I'm sure that's who you were waving at, right, Becky? Only Bruce. All right. You're on mute, so we're getting a really nice charades performance right now, Becky.
I was on a Zoom call with Bruce and Jim and a lot of other people a couple of weeks ago, and I went like this with my hair apparently like 40 times.
Becky, you're my favorite Zoom buddy. I just have to tell you. So by far.
Of course, everybody has to tell me every stupid thing I've ever done, right?
Oh, it's all good.
All right. We should have everybody back now, Larry. Thanks for sticking with me on all of that. Hopefully you guys were able to chat at least for a few minutes and take a look at the awesome database. All right, Larry, back to you.
Yeah, I will share my screen again, and we just want to do a little bit of a report out for the main room. I'll give you all a little bit of flavor. I was in the room about Flathead and that area. We looked at some properties in Sanders County, and then we were working, Bonnie was trying to identify some properties in Lake County that might be interesting. And they look to be similar owners, so that could reveal some good results. Anyone else want to come off mute, or maybe Nicole? I don't know if you're out there.
Yeah. By the time I actually got to a breakout room that one of you wasn't already in, I think I said hi to everybody. I landed in the Great Falls room, and I actually brought up the Excel database and showed folks that, and we sorted it by earliest end date, and then it was not letting me sort it again by county and city, but we kind of looked at some projects in Cascade and Hill County, and we didn't get very far, but we kind of talked about some of the current ones on the list that are already being rehab, but at least got to show the folks in my group how to use that database. So.
Yeah, so that's a good note. Only so much information could be housed on that map, and I know that was something that Nicole was trying to get everything into, but it just didn't work. So if you want more information or want to see the individual subsidy types, don't forget to scroll up on the that same exact web page the database is on, and you can download an Excel spreadsheet.
I can share a little bit about our group's breakout. We were able to use the map to hone in on 2 properties in Big Timber, the only 2 with expiring deed restrictions, and then talked about what would be our strategy. So knowing nothing about these properties necessarily, what would be our strategy? And so first we talked about needing to learn who the owner is and what their intents were. If they're planning to keep it affordable, we could move on to the next. We also talked about bringing in our public sector. So thinking through who might our local officials be. And of course, one of the challenges in rural areas is it's not always clear exactly who covers what region. And so we brainstormed where we might ask. We didn't have a clear path forward. So identifying, learning the owner's intent, reaching out to the public sector and figuring out who covers the area. And then we talked about if we did learn that it's a property that needs preservation, what team we might put in place. So what team we might reach out to put in place. So who might be development partners and who might be funding partners. And of course, there could be some overlap with the public sector for that. But that's kind of the approach that we took. And Raymond, Katina, JC, feel free to jump in if I missed anything that you want to add. Right.
Anyone else?
I'll do a quick shout out on the Bozeman Butte crew. Well, none of you organizers were in the room, so we went rogue a little bit and just talked about the market and really identified our larger concerns for especially the Bozeman area, but also our Montana real estate values and our concerns around kind of the differences between pure tax credit projects that are coming to the end of their compliance and the other types of preservation that have other restrictions that will keep them in the program. And we talked a little bit about, Homeward, we've gone after several projects for acquisition and been outbid by $3 to $5 million. And so the risks around real estate, especially in, well, it's happening statewide, to be honest now. There's a lot of outside investors that want to buy properties. They're going to pay over what you can afford to run them as affordable, lose money for a few years and let the tax credit compliance burn off. And then they'll take the projects to market. And so I think that's our biggest risk in Montana, one of the hardest nuts to crack as far as being able to keep these projects in as affordable, because in Bozeman, Missoula, even Great Falls is having these problems. Our market is really hot and it's not a bubble, it's going to burst. It may change, but it won't burst. So we talked a bit about that and some other policy things.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. I might just say, I think we're getting to the time. Kaya, do we need to start wrapping this up? Does this end at noon? Okay.
Yeah, we've got another minute if there's.
Okay. So I might just put out that we just posted the contact information on our screen. Hopefully you all know already how to reach us. NeighborWorks Montana, Enterprise, and Montana Housing. We're all really working on this together. I really, really, really appreciate you coming on today. Thanks a lot to Nicole and the whole team at Montana Housing for getting that preservation database put together, because it is a massive tool that we can use to continue this work and really identify. Yes, kudos. I don't have one of the fun things, but yeah, I'll just clap. But thank you for that work. Feel free to use that preservation database in your work or your talk with legislators, or anyone else who's really working in this field to try to move this forward.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Nicole, Katie, Larry, really great work, and so much potential, I think, for us all to work together to preserve some of these really important properties. So thank you for joining this session. Remember, you can always participate in community conversations through the Whova app. So if you want to chat more, connect with someone you met in this group, or later today, you're thinking, oh man, I should have made this connection, put it in Whova. Let's stay connected. Let's continue this work. Now we are on a 1-hour lunch break, and we look forward to having everyone back at 1 p.m. for for a breakout session. Breakout sessions this afternoon. All right, enjoy your lunch. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.